Wait, let me see if I heard clearly. You watched Elena Soliotis live in Rome.
No. Yes, I watched the TV records. First of all, I got records of her performing, and I was just really impressed with her voice, how she sing high notes, and after that she go to very low notes, because for sopranos it's really one of the most tricky things is to balance the low notes and high notes, not to change your tempo during this time, not to do your all diapason even. And she had so even diapason, she had so even voice, and at the same time it was so bright and was so powerful that I just fell in love with her voice and with the role of Lady Macbeth.
Yeah, I think Elena Soliotis is what some of us would call a cult diva. You know, like she's not like as popular as say a Maria Callas obviously, or a Renata Scotto, or Renee Fleming and so on. But those of us who really collect our records and listen to different versions of recordings, we know Elena Soliotis,
yes,
and she's made some really exciting recordings.
She has really exciting recordings, and she had really exciting voice. But I think that the reason why the public don't know her so good as Maria Callas was the reason is that she lost her voice when she was about 34 years, unfortunately, because this rule that the dramatic part you should take after 30, after 35, I think it has sense. And but Elena Soliotis, she has really brilliant talent, and she had really brilliant voice. But she started to sing Anna Boleyn and Lady Macbeth when she was 25. It's too early, so when she was 32.
Again, Nabucco, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was what made her really famous.
Yeah. And it's too dramatic roles, and all teachers advised to sing it after 35. So she started to sing it when she was 25, and unfortunately she lost her brilliant voice.
She became a mezzo. She did, because she sang she sang in Suor Angelica.
Oh,
the visiting
the princess.
The prince.
Yeah.
Yep.
The princess.
The princess.
Yes, actually, the Joan Sutherland, if you know, she also started to sing mezzo, but after she was 65.
Oh.
She started to sing also mezzo. So for soprano she had to sing mezzo. So unfortunately she lost her voice, and it wasn't as good as it was. So that's why we don't know her so good as Maria Callas.
Well, back to our production. What do you guys find challenging about the roles that you guys are taking on? Of course, we know how difficult Lady Macbeth's music can be. Yeah.
I think for me it's convincing the actors that how they feel on stage and what they do on stage can be quite different. So that was a challenge, but I think it's not too difficult. I try my best to convince them.
What's your vision of this piece?
My vision of this piece is a very visually agitated energy to be seen on stage, and that's what I make them do. They have to be excited and agitated physically to show that so that you just hang on to your seats the whole time, hopefully.
No, it's true. I tell you, every rehearsal is like running a marathon. You're like singing the opera for like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, full voice.
So about the question, which scene is most challenging for me? The most challenging scene was the math scene, because the transmission of the mood of the aria is changing all the time, because we are trying to show the madness. So the music changes, your character changes every line. Every line is different. So that was challenging, and also, as Steven said before, Hawk said, more energy, be more convincing. So during the math scene, for me, it was most challenging.
How about the first act aria? You know, people say that it's so demanding. Well, because the notes are difficult, and it's like the first thing that Lady Macbeth sings without any opportunity to warm up.
You know, for me, this aria is, you know, it's, in Russia we have such phrase that the music lay on your voice. So this aria laid on my voice very easy. I knew this aria and I learned it very fast. So for me it was, of course it's challenging, and of course all the claviaturas should be very accurate, but this music, this energy of this music is very close to me, and for me it wasn't so easy. It wasn't so difficult. Yes, it wasn't so difficult.
I see. Well, that's good to know, and I have to say, you know, having heard her sing it during rehearsals, you guys are in for a treat, yeah? As soon as you buy your tickets, yeah? We'll put the link later. Buy your tickets if you haven't already, please, yeah. Well, for me, you know, people talk about, well, it's not the case for Tatiana, but people talk about, you know, how Verdi makes Lady Macbeth sing this really difficult aria right from the start of the opera. They don't talk about how he makes Macbeth sings his showcase aria at the end of the show, after making Macbeth scream for like an hour and a half, and then suddenly Verdi wants Macbeth to sing lyrically. You know, it's like, what is that? It's like by the time I get there, I'm just trying to hold back whatever voice I have left. But you know, it's a beautiful aria. Pietà rispetto amore, of course. You know, so I hope that I hope to do it well for you guys eventually as well. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, the challenges of the role, I have to say that I wanted to play the role because I enjoy like very serious, very dark characters. I jokingly tell people that I like to have a mental breakdown on stage, and so I like to be able to like go mad and then fall on the floor while performing.
Yes, you like to fall all the time.
It's a brand. I think if you've seen some of my videos, you would agree with it. You know, it could be a comedic thing, it could be a serious thing, but I just love to fall on the floor. I just love to get on my knees for whatever reason. Yeah, and yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's yeah, but the notes themselves are incredibly difficult because, you know, we know that opera, you know, opera is opera because it has to sound a certain way, and so the range is extremely high and it has to sound, you know, yeah, a certain way. It has to sound operatic. It has to sound like there's a big dynamic contrast. Of course, I keep it all within within the limitations of my voice. I try my best, but it is really not easy. And to that end, I've had to train very regularly. I'm fortunate enough to have a really good teacher, Martin Ng, to guide me through the more demanding parts of the score. And so that's something that I'm working very hard to kind of rise to the occasion that the role demands. Yeah, so that in turn I can have the freedom to portray the insanity and the journey of the character that is required of such a landmark role, you know. Yeah. And yeah. How any other, you know, challenges, let's say, well, with the score and, you know, working in this kind of within the COVID environment that we have now?
I think, of course, the problem is getting the full cast together, which we can't, but we do have Zoom. So
yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
do you want to tell them about the witches thing or keep that?
I mean, you said that already. Okay. Well, you know, what discussing bad luck earlier, right? You know, right now we've had some cast members, you know, who are going through COVID. You know, Tatiana, fortunately, she was down 2 weeks ago, but.
1 week ago.
Only a week ago, yeah, but she managed to bounce back in time. As you can see, you know, she still has some residual cough, but she's fully negative already, and you know, that's why. But we still have Isaac, who is currently
so we
quarantining
have
at home. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Stephen wanted 3 witches, but I'm thinking, oh my God, it's the pandemic. How are we gonna get 3 people at the same time to rehearse? And you know, just so many things going on. And so we reduced to 1 witch.
Yeah.
And then the witch, and the witch had to go back to the other world.
Right.
So we have a surprise for you, and this person has to go through Zoom when during the recent weeks, because that person has to take care of a sick aunt who got COVID. So everyone is getting COVID. So that's why it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we
No, it's a typing mistake.
we actually got Susie Penrith Tyree, who's a brilliant actress and a lovely Scottish woman to play, well, the combined character of the witch for us. Yeah. However, due to clashes, clashes in her own in the schedule of her own theatrical company, brought about also thanks to COVID and the endless restrictions, she had to drop out. Fortunately, we were able to find.
We don't tell them we don't say anymore.
Okay.
And then find out.
Well, we did get a replacement who is a brilliant performer. Yeah, and they brought in their own spin on the role, and actually, I was very impressed by how well they took on the role.
We had to workshop quite a bit to elicit something out of what was supposed to be the witch's story, but come and see it because it's interesting.
Yeah.
We have a question there.
So, well, on that note, I think we can open the floor up to question and answer to our audience. Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to turn on your video and ask us. Or you can type a question in down.
Okay, we are trying to analyze Edwin's maybe spelling. How did the members of the cast prepare for? I don't know that word.
Iambic pentameter delivery. Well. Okay, well, iambic pentameter, you know, for those of you who may not know, it's a kind of rhythmic flow that Shakespeare writes his verses in.
No,
so that's a da da da
because we are not really doing. Yeah. I mean, most of the music is Verdi, and some of the we don't have a lot of text really, but some of the text is from Shakespeare.
Yeah. I mean, not all the spoken texts are Shakespeare, but there's a big chunk of it that actually is Shakespeare.
It's not a major thing, really not a major thing.
No, however, the people who are doing the bulk of Shakespeare's original texts are trained actors, and yes, we do know about the iambic pentameter. We do kind of work with that reference in mind. Of course, when we do perform a Shakespeare play, we don't actually go on stage and go da. You know, we have it as a reference. But when we rehearse, we try to inhabit the world of the characters, and that to us is the more important.
Yeah, the interpretation is more about the delivery of what the character is trying to convey. And no, we have not read the complete play. No.
He has not read the complete.
I have not.
I've done my research for the past 10 years, so I have.
No, we are not mic'd at all for the performance.
Well, yeah, no. I think the benefit of doing a show at Woodman Arts Centre is that it's a very intimate space, and the audience and the performers are actually not that far away. So I think it's nice that you know we get to feel the audience's energy so up close, and then you guys can get to see and hear us. You know, you guys get to see and hear us more intimately, as opposed to in a big theater where you guys are maybe like up in the 4th floor, or at the very least across the other side of the orchestra pit, and it's kind of, you know, some kind of some form of intimacy is lost in the grandness of it. Yeah, in our more enclosed space, you know, the scenes that we are performing are the more personal, the more intimate parts. Yeah, so I think that you guys will be able to feel our energy a lot better than in a big space, and therefore we will not be using mics. We will be projecting our voices the way that we train our voices for singing. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I see that we have a cast member who's also here. Yeah.
Hugo.
Hugo, would you like to show your face and say hi to our friends?
Hello, Hugo.
Hi, Hugo.
Hugo will be playing Banco.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one aspect of this production that I'm very excited about is that we have a cast of professionals and a cast of community performers who do perform regularly in opera productions, but are doing like principal opera roles for the first time. You know, so like Hugo and Dennis, who are very enthusiastic about our project. And then of course, you know, we have like more experienced performers like Tatiana, like myself, and Jonathan Charles Day to take on the more the bigger roles. Yeah, of course, Banco is a really big role in the play, though. Yeah, Hugo, what are your thoughts about taking on this project? What are your thoughts on playing Banco?
But Banco is one of the big boss roles that Verdi wrote. The aria is very challenging because you have a lot of high notes. I mean, for a bass, high notes, not for a soprano. For a soprano, it's very low. But what I think is what I think is most interesting for the Banco role, that is he is kind of the opposite of Macbeth. Macbeth is I seem, I mean, to Edwin, his question, I read the play many times when I was much younger, and I know the opera quite well. It's one of my favorite operas of Verdi. So I see Banco as the opposite. He's a good man, he's a noble man, he's not a liar, he's not a cheater, while Macbeth is actually a coward who is manipulated by his wife, because it's her, yes, she's a witch, which fits Tatiana very well, by the way. I mean, she plays it very well. Don't get me wrong, but it's she who decides the plot, and he believes in the witches, and she knows that, so she plays in on that. So she decides about murder, who will be murdered and when. She actually drives the whole opera, and he is just a slave of his, not his love, but his lust to her. That is my take on Macbeth. It's very dark. It's all about blood and about witchcraft. It's not about friendship. It's about egocentrism. It's about egoism, and the Macbeth is a very he's a slave. Actually, he is her slave, and that's how I see the whole evolution in the opera. He starts as a noble man, but then he meets those witches, and he gets obsessed by his belief in witchcraft, and also by his hallucinations. And she knows that, she knows his weakness, and she only wants power. She doesn't want him. She wants to be the queen, and so she drives the opera. That's my take on Macbeth.
Well done, Hugo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say that yes, I do agree that the role of Banco has a bit of a kind of Greek chorus, a kind of narrator part to his character, in that he kind of explains the plot in a to let's say a regular person in the audience who does have a regular conscience, who does not think of murdering the king, you know. And he kind of like he's the bridge between the regular audience to the evilness of the titular couple. Yeah, I feel that another reason, you know, why I wanted to perform this piece so much is that it is the darkness of it that draws me, and the haunting music that Verdi writes for it. Yeah. I have to say that romantic stories don't really interest me much, you know. So maybe as a baritone, you know, I don't get to fall in love, or I don't get to play the leading romantic lead as much. Yeah, but but really I just don't see myself like playing someone's boyfriend or husband on stage. But a role like this where there's so much plotting and anger and hatred and psychosis and nervous breakdowns. These kind of plots really inspire me. Yeah.